the New York City Vietnam Veterans Memorial here at 55 Water Street, and today is Vietnam Veterans Day, a day where we recognize all those that fought in the Vietnam War, as well as those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Order, march! Recent, march! Order, march! Right, ready!
This year, we are honored to recognize another icon of our Vietnam veterans community and a longtime friend and advocate of veterans of all eras. Paul Bud Bucha was born August 1st, 1943 into a military family. He attended the United States Military Academy at West Point, graduating near the top of his class. After receiving his MBA at Stanford University, he deployed to Vietnam as a captain, commanding Company D, 3rd Battalion, 187th Regiment of the 101st Airborne Division. On March 18, 1968, Captain Bucha and his company came across a full battalion of North Vietnamese Army troops in the vicinity of Phuoc Vinh. Vastly outnumbered, the company came under heavy enemy fire and was pinned down. Bucha personally destroyed an NVA bunker and then organized the withdrawal of his unit to a more defensible position. The battle continued overnight, during which Captain Bucha encouraged his troops, distributed ammunition, and coordinated support fire from artillery and helicopter gunships. When medevac helicopters arrived to evacuate the wounded, Bucha stood out in the open and guided them in with flashlights. In the morning, after the NVA withdrew, he led a detail to rescue soldiers who had been cut off from the company during the fighting. For his actions in this engagement, Bucha was awarded the Medal of Honor, our nation's highest award for valor. After returning to the United States, Bucha taught at West Point until resigning from the Army in 1972. In his post-military career, Mr. Bucha has enjoyed success in leadership positions in a diverse array of companies. In addition to his business endeavors, Mr. Bucha has lectured and advised military leaders and elected officials on honor and leadership. Yet despite these many demands on his schedule, Mr. Bucha has always made time for his fellow veterans in New York City, and especially our New York City Veterans Day Parade. He helped keep the flame of the parade lit during its darkest years and played an important role in its return to prominence. Today, he serves as a commentator during our parade broadcast, helping tell the story of our veterans to the viewing public. He is also on the board of the Friends of the Vietnam Veterans Plaza. Mr. Bucha has 4 children and 3 grandchildren, and is married to the former Cynthia Carter Bell of Cornwall, New York. Together they reside in Connecticut. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Paul Bud Bucha to the podium. There's the hat. Mr. Bucha, on behalf of the United War Veterans Council, our Vietnam veterans and veterans of all eras throughout the city of New York, it is our honor to present to you the 2019 Patrick L. Gualtieri Service to Vietnam Veterans Award.
Thank you.
Can you do that, sir?
I know. Thank you. Sit down, please. And the sun is over here. That's what the direction point. I mean, we had winter, we had spring, we had winter again. So I just want to say thank you very much. I'm humbled by this action. They told me they had a throne for me to sit in. And I was a little concerned that it wouldn't have wheels. And to start with, I want to tell General Jackson I have to keep alive what I've been told I'm known for, and that is to make sure that we correct things that are said to be true before we decide to change the record. And I would like it to be known forevermore. There is no difference between those who served in Germany or in Italy or in the Middle East or in Asia. And there's no difference between those and those who served in country as we knew it. The thing that distinguishes us is the fact that we raise our right hand and take an allegiance to this country. The government then decides who goes where. And everyone who raises their right hand is entitled to the same respect of those who served abroad in Germany and in peacetime conditions, or those who served in combat. And there's no difference between the people in combat on the front lines and combat on the back lines. It is raising your hand to serve this country that is what's important. And every time I go to an event like this, I am moved by another group of people. They are our Gold Star mothers. Stand up, please. Thank you. I'll never forget when Cardinal Dolan and I were sitting on the dais outside by the Intrepid, and he turned over at me and he said, "You keep commenting about the ladies in white." I said, "Yes." He said, "Who are they?" I said, "Cardinal, I think you're the military vicar of the United States, are you not?" He said, "Yeah, but they didn't give a briefing." I said, "Well, let me tell you who these wonderful women are. They represent the complete willingness to serve this country. They have given their most precious act that follows in the line of event in history that gave rise to the religion that Timothy Dolan supports. They gave their sons and daughters in service to this country." He said, "Oh my God, do you think they'd be willing to have a picture with me?" Just then, one of the ladies sent up a ticket to me and said, "Do you think the Cardinal would take a picture with us?" I ripped up her piece of paper and I said, "No, the Cardinal asked you for a picture with him." And that's the position you belong to be in. Every single one of you. And for everybody in this room, I want to make sure you know who they are in another position. I was asked to speak at their national convention in Tyson's Corner. And I was really excited about it. The Vietnam veterans said, "You're going to really enjoy it. It's wonderful. The Gold Star mothers are going to be there." And I assumed it would be like a typical New York dinner. There would be 10 tables with the Gold Star mothers and maybe 30 tables with those of us who worship and thank them every day of our lives. I walked into the room and I saw 12 tables, 10 with Gold Star mothers, and 2 with Vietnam veterans and bikers. And I was very, very, very shocked to think that the congressmen, the senators, the secretaries, the people who are staff agents, none of them were willing to take the time from their such busy lives they lead to join us in saluting the Gold Star mothers of this country. And I told the men that night, the bikers and the Vietnam vets, we've got to one day fill these halls in Tyson's Corner so that every hotel is filled and every table that we put there is there so that they never ever have to worry about how are we going to pay the bills for an organization that each and every one of us should hope never disappears from light. So please, when you have the opportunity, talk to your congressman, talk to your congressman's staff and say you can't be that important. You must attend the Gold Star Mother dinners when they're here. And no, they don't have to beg you to come. You should reach out to them and say, where is it? When is it? I'll be there. So please take that message back home. Bill Nelson one time told me, every time you come to speak here, you get mad at somebody. And that's true. And the reason is that I don't belong in a gathering like this at this side of the rostrum. I belong out there with the men and women who served our country as I tried to do myself. The difference is, I failed in what I promised my men I would do. I told them, if you trust me, I will bring you home. And unfortunately, there are 10 names on a bright, shiny wall in Washington that every day I think of. What could I have done differently? What could I have done more perfectly so that each and every one of my men had the opportunity to come back to and become all that they could be? To carry that load, many of you know what it's like. And it's very difficult to get up each day and face that as the challenge that you must meet. That's the judgment that is going to be exercised against me and for me. And I just want to thank each and every one of you. When I come to this event, it was just like what Pat did. Pat would take off his hat and say, thank you for coming. Now go over there and sit down and I'll call you. And I would go sit and be quiet because Pat told me to do so. And as I walked up to the stage, just like today, I always had a chance for Molly to give me a hug. And she'd say, do well. And I try to do that. So as you look at this day, let's try to fill these areas. Let's try to have people over the rims. That's what will be the measure of this city, because when we came across that bridge, none of us knew who was on the other side. We paused before we hit City Hall, and Mayor Koch walked up. And he says, where do I go? I said, you push George Lang's chair. For those of you who don't know it, George Lang was a quadriplegic Medal of Honor recipient from Brooklyn. He said, thank you. And he grabbed that chair and never took his eyes off where they were going. In spite of everybody yelling, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor, he never waved. He just pushed that chair. He knew the importance of that moment. And he knew the honor he was giving to push George Lang, enlisted man, Vietnam, quadriplegic, as the leader of that parade. That's what each and every one of us should try to do next year. Each of us pick one person, invite them, and let's get them all here. I made a mistake today. I watched 29 Medal of Honor recipients get on a bus to go to Washington. I should have said, no, stop the bus. There's a more important place for them to be. Here. I pledge to you that next year they will be here, and they will be here to say thank you to you. In closing, I'm going to remind you of something I asked you to do last year. All of these 501c3s, some 55,000 of them formed since 9/11. All of them, it seems, have a charter provision that says anything they do is for post-9/11 vets only. The reason I took this opportunity to point out to Jim Jackson that there is no difference between us is because that reflects in everything we do. No, the vet first in line is the vet most in need, not when and where he or she performed her service. And again, call your congressman and let's have someone have the courage to put a bill in there that rescinds that provision and says the VA does not recognize that limitation in the charter. Because if we are going to build homes, if we are going to build hospitals, if we're going to take care and improve health care, let's make sure it is the tradition of this country. The vet most in need is the vet first in line. And now I've fulfilled what Molly asked me to do, and that is to try to speak the truth on a moment of sunshine in the day. And I just want to tell you, I am humbled to be here. Every time I come, I get inspired that the next day I can do better. And for each of you, I'd like you to remember one thing. We have one thing to give that's truly precious. And no, it's not money. Money, you have a lot of it, you have none of it, you'll lose it again, you make it again. It's not the best thing. Stuff that we have to give away, sofas and things we give when our house gets smaller and we give it away and the kids don't want it. There's another thing, unfortunately, that is far more finite than we would have it be. It's our time. That's what we need to give each other. Don't worry about the money. Don't worry about the places they're going to work. Remember people for what they are and take it the time to say thank you. So no, it's not thank you for your service. It's son, tell me where you're from. Young lady, where are you from? What have you done? Can I help you? When you're in that airport, the Budweiser ad takes 13 seconds. It says that's all we give to the soldiers. They walk in, 13 seconds later, we're standing, we're clapping, we sit down and start reading our newspaper. Now, go up and ask that young man and woman, where are you from? Can I help you? And if they're looking up at that wall of names, I mean, Nashville is NDC. Who would ever know? That's Nashville. And when you take these kids, let them serve overseas, many of them have never been in an airport. Take the time to ask them. And you ask him where you're going, he'll say, or she'll say, I'm going home to the most important dinner of my life. A dinner I might not have come to. But I've been lucky. I've been fortunate. I just don't want to miss it. Where is the plane? Take them. You can afford the 5 minutes. Take them to their gate. Ask the flight attendant to take care of them. You watch, they'll say, don't worry, we don't need your money, we don't need your credit card. They're in good hands now because they will take the time, just like you just took the time, to ensure these young people know we care. So leave this day inspired to take care of those who serve this country. Leave this day and inspired to reach out to your neighbors and say, will you join me in recognizing the Vietnam veterans and the many other veterans who serve this country next year at this place in the same manner that you did. God bless you for recognizing me. I take it from my men. God bless you all.
Thank you, Mr. Bucha. And now we'll be laying the wreaths in memory of those lost in service. Following the wreath laying ceremony, our Gold Star families will step forward to place flowers alongside the memorial. During this ceremony, a memorial readings will be offered by Gold Star Sister Vicki Miano. Please rise if you are able for the presentation of the wreaths and flowers, followed by a rifle salute, the playing of taps, and a moment of silence. The wreaths being laid today represent the following: the United War Veterans Council, our Vietnam veterans, our POW, MIA families, our military service branches, our OIF, OEF, and post 9/11 veterans, Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 126, KVVA, Chapter 126. Vietnam Veterans of America, Chapter 72. Wreath in memory of John F. Ward, U.S. Army veteran. Okay. Wreath in memory of Michael Gala, USMC, Vietnam. Friends of Vietnam Veterans Plaza, New York City Veterans Alliance. Please welcome Vicki Miano, sister of Stephen Pickett, who gave his life in Vietnam. Vicki will be reading a letter from home to her, from her brother.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome home. My brother, Private First Class Stephen Pickett, was serving in Cu Chi, Vietnam. He was there for 7 weeks. He wrote a letter on Tuesday, November 14th, 1967, 7 p.m., and it said, "Dear Mom, Dad, Chris, and Vicki, we were well informed here about the demonstrations on both sides. Even though I'm here, I still have an open mind, realizing, of course, that an immediate pullout or anything of the sort is out of the question. It would degrade the heroic deaths of those who never returned, because it would mean going back on everything that we have done. There are many here who feel as I do, but we will continue to fight for the country in which we believe. Saul Alinsky, the social agitator, once said that no matter how much he criticizes his government, once he left the United States, he suddenly couldn't find a nasty thing to say about it. I am sure that is what the most sincere people feel, whether liberal or conservative. That is one of the very essences of our nation. Take care of yourselves and keep writing. Vicki, thanks for the turkey. Love, your son and brother, Stephen." He served with Company C, 4th Battalion, 23rd Infantry, Mechanized, 25th Infantry Division. He was based in Cu Chi, and he was a tunnel rat. He wrote this letter just 1 month before he was killed. He was 20 years old. Stephen was a Regis graduate from New York City, and in 2017, we held his 50th anniversary of his death at Regis High School. And we had many people attend the Mass, and it was amazing to me that there were those 50 years later still remembered him. I always said, if you ever met Stephen, you would never forget him. I miss you. I love you. Thank you so much. It is always an honor and a blessing. It was an honor and blessing to have 2 of his letters in this book. We thank you so much. Welcome home.